So do you remember how your interview went?
I do remember how my interview went. I remember it was this American guy and I was quite confused. I was like, oh, okay, shout out Wits. We got international people up in here. I have my laptop out, a sheet above my laptop with all the information that may occur or come up in my interview. I remember it also being quite quick because I think the nerves before started slowing down in the middle of the interview. Yeah.
I feel like you got a hand of it, like as it went through.
Yeah, I realized that in the middle, I was like, it's actually, I need to relax. Because I also did keep looking up at my sheet above my laptop. And I was like, okay, I don't think I need to do that. I can like speak for myself and who I am as a person.
So my interview, I remember that it took place at my mom's office. And I remember that I dressed up formal, which ended up not being necessary because the interviewer did not actually want the actual video call, but just wanted it to be audio instead. So yeah, we just had a conversation. We got to know me as a person, got to understand where my interest in architecture stemmed from. And yeah, and also what kind of threw me off was the interviewer asked me if I had any question for the interviewer.
Yeah.
And kind of threw me off because I didn't actually have. But other than
Do you feel
that,
like it made you feel like you were unprepared or something?
yeah, it made me feel a little bit like perhaps I lost points there. But all in all, trying to be honest, I've always had genuine interest in architecture and passion. And I think that the interviewer saw that, and I think the interview played quite a huge role in me actually being here.
It was very nerve-wracking. I was very nervous before the interview, but all in all, it went well. It really went well. Yeah. Were you nervous? Very, very nervous. Yeah, I just didn't know what to say at the beginning, but the interviewer just made it easy for me to talk about what I wanted to talk about, and yeah, it just went smooth after that.
Yes, I do remember how my interview went. Vaguely, I'm not gonna lie. Vaguely. That whole experience, the portfolio experience, the interview, it's kind of a blur. I do remember being nervous for the interview. But I had a very nice interviewer. And the fact that it was online made it, easier, made it more comfortable and calmed the nerves down a bit.
Yes, I do remember how it went because I vividly remember the questioner because I met them the next year and I remember that voice. And then I was told that said person is a very controversial character within architecture.
Obviously.
I feel like those who watch will probably catch on and know who it is. I don't think I'm allowed to mention her name because of copyrights and like so can get sued or whatever. But she was a very notorious figure, say. So she did my interview. It was fun, actually. It was 15 minutes interview and it only lasted 10 minutes. And I was thinking I was screwed because at the end she did ask me if I had any questions for her or like any questions about anything, and I didn't have any questions. And then she was like, oh, okay, bye. And then she left. But it only took 10 minutes of the 15 minutes slot I was given. But it was very generic. It was normal, it was fine. It just took me my portfolio, explained to me how you got there, how did you do it, and like, it was normal though. Like, it made sense. I'm hearing people in their interviews, they got questions like, what do you think of the water crisis in Cape Town? I'm working as an architect to like, I wouldn't have an answer for that, I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, yeah, my interview was not so bad. It really depends on who you get, and that's just a gamble.
I was expecting it, I was quite nervous for it. I was expecting to be like a test almost to see like how much do you care? Do you have like a test to see if you wanted it badly enough? I actually spoke to an architect who did lecture at Wits and at UJ. Just asking him like, what can I do to prepare? What should I know for this interview? Because it felt like a test, but it wasn't like that at all. The guy that I spoke to said, you should know like some famous South African architects, maybe be aware of some trends going on in South Africa, just so that it shows that you're interested. But all of that wasn't really necessary. It was really more just, it actually felt a lot more like a conversation interview. If you're just being genuine and authentic and speaking from like what you know is true, it's just a friendly conversation. They're looking at your aptitude and your personality. If it seems like someone that would do well in architecture. So yeah, it was honestly just like a conversation.
It was very simple. It was amazing. I love the interviewer so much. I think even meeting her as a student has been like an amazing thing for me, because I cannot forget the experience that she gave me as a person who wanted to pursue architecture, already having experienced what architecture lecturers are like. People don't like you answering questions that like to give you their interpretation.
Yeah, 100% true.
She allowed me to explain, and she allowed me to show her the perspective in which I was kind of attempting the briefs. Yeah, in my previous attempts in working in the space, as well as the fact that I challenged the brief. Don't do that. It's not recommended, right? Not recommended. Don't do it. I challenged the brief because I think by then I had enough information. I think I had an extreme confidence in the work that I had done in order for me to challenge that said brief. And it was, oh my gosh, I enjoyed that interview. That was the best interview.
She's definitely the most intelligent person who's ever taught me ever in my life.
So I can't wait to be taught by her.
So in the previous video, I spoke about the application process, and I gave you insights on how students approach the exercises and actually got accepted. So now I'm going to help you in approaching the interviews. As I said in the previous video, only a small amount of people get called in for the interviews. So if you made it to this point, congratulations. That means that they see potential in you. Now you need to prove to them that you have what it takes to be a Wits architecture student. So my name is Khongelani, and I'm here in helping you realizing that dream. However, as I stated before, only 98% of people get accepted, so it won't be an easy task. So as you've seen already, I've brought in a few people so they can give you different perspectives on how to approach this task. I hope this will be helpful.
Because I only applied to 2 unis, I was like, okay, I need to nail this because I don't have a backup. I think because I'm such a type A personality, which we've had a conversation about before, I planned everything. So every question that he did ask me, because I made sure that I didn't want to derive the interview to something that was irrelevant, I made sure I wrote down. So I was like, okay, favorite architect, Zaha, because that's the one that we all need. Okay, why do I like Zaha? Oh, okay. So it was like very planned out, and I made sure I said the right things.
So you basically prepared for everything.
I prepared for everything. Yeah, I did.
And it made it easier because it was just online and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I could like look up at the screen while my laptop was there. So I was like, yeah, no, Zaha. So yeah, it was quite planned.
I searched the interview questions on Google that may be asked on an interview, and then I just memorized all these questions and I was prepared for them. And make sure you know everything about the portfolio and the artwork you submit before the portfolio, because that's what they're gonna ask you about. But I was expecting somewhat of a intense interview, but it was more like a conversation than an interview. Do you remember who gave you your interview?
I don't remember, but it was a woman. And yeah, that's what I remember pretty much.
Okay, then were you nervous during the interview?
At the start I was, but as time went on, my nerves went away. Just tried to express myself as genuinely as I could. So yeah.
How did you calm down your nerves?
I think firstly, the fact that it was a Teams call, was online, that helped. Like, I think if it was in person and if I had to come all the way to Wits to do the interview.
But was your camera turned on?
Yeah, it was turned on.
Oh, it had to be turned on?
Yeah, I don't know if it had to be, but I put mine on. I preferred it that way. But the fact that it was online was one thing. The fact that Amina, my interviewer, was nice was another thing. And also the fact that I'd never been through this before was kind of exciting as well. So that like counteracted the nervousness.
Then did you like dress up in a suit or something? Because I heard a lot of people did that.
Really?
Yeah.
Hell no, I didn't. I showed up genuinely as myself. That also, if I made it bigger than what it was,
Yeah.
I would have been nervous.
Do you think if you like kind of staged everything, it wasn't gonna work?
I was gonna be nervous. So I calmed myself down. I was like, if I get in, if it's a good interview, it's a good interview. If it's not, it's not. So I just showed up, answered the questions, and in retrospect, like literally right after the interview ended, I was like,
It wasn't so
not
bad.
bad. It wasn't that bad.
I was very nervous before, but I am a very spiritual person, so I chose to find different routes on how to calm my nerves. So I lit lavender incense and I had essential oils that I kept on smelling in between. Like before, like because our office is upstairs, like as I was walking up, I was like sniffing the lavender. I also did pray, like I prayed heavily and I asked God to please be with me and ensure that this goes very well. And because being so religious and spiritual and my faith, I feel like that calmed me down.
Then when it comes to your portfolio, seems like you have an art background when it comes to that. So what is the
Inspiration behind it.
yeah?
So this was my personal portfolio that you're showing me right now, and then the Wits application one. So with my personal portfolio, I wanted to show them that I was quite diverse in the way that I draw. I mean, you can see that there's pen work in there, there's pastel, there's charcoal. I'm also able to model make. I feel as if the idea and the theme of identity is one that's consistent throughout all of my projects, which I'm still battling with now. Even within my architecture project, I noticed that identity and self is a major theme. So with the one project, it was, if you scroll all the way down, you see that it's a candle showing layers to a person. What you see on the outside isn't necessarily what the person what their truth is. And then the next one was just showing, okay, I can make a lamp. And then the last one was based off of religion, actually, which I was trying to get back into, the idea of self and whether the universe is, or God is real, you know. And I feel like as human beings, we're always questioning. So I wanted to show what my feeling was at that time.
So do you think there's some sort of importance in showing your
who you are to a
who you are?
certain extent. And I feel as if within all of these projects, there's a lot of color, yet there's also a lot of questioning, which I think that's me to a sense. I'm like, I don't know the answers to everything. I'm just trying to enjoy life, showing the color and be like positive. However, there's still some deep thought to whatever I'm showing.
Do you think the concept of you looking into your experiences and what you think about life has trickled down into your design process for architecture?
100%. I have noticed that my train of thought is always, how am I feeling at the time, you know? Which sometimes apparently that's a bad thing, but I'm not necessarily attaching myself to the project. But I feel as if when you bring emotion into work, there's a lot more depth. So I wanted to show that within it. I think, what project did we have? It was like really emotional. I think it was second year. There was a project that we did in second year. At the time, someone did pass. So I feel as if there was an emotional driver in that sense of what I was showing.
I don't really have an art background. I do like drawing and graphic, like representation and things like that, but that's all just been self-learning, doing it as a hobby on the side. I didn't have art at my high school, so I didn't take that as a subject. So apart from like personal drawing, I also included some things like poetry, some short essays. I did music in high school, so I included one of my own compositions in there as well. Just anything that I've made, I put in there, not necessarily art, any kind of like creative outlet that I had. I just wanted to put it all together in the portfolio.
I just had an appreciation for art. Like, I've always loved art. When I was young, I wanted to be an artist, but I never went to art school or had an art subject in high school. It's just something that I personally had an affinity to, and that my love for art is what led me to apply for architecture, because I wanted to do something creative, but something that was, in terms of acquiring jobs, be more a safer option, and that led me to architecture.
Yeah.
Do you have any memory of like the portfolio which you submitted?
I think I remember it very vividly, like what I produced for the portfolio. Yeah. I remember. So there was one section where we had to build. We had to build an artifact, and then with that artifact, we had to attach a narrative to it. And there were like limiting factors, like we couldn't use any adhesives for this artifact that we had to build. I think we could use anything as long as it wasn't put together with an adhesive. So my first iteration, the first thing that I built was horrible. It was the most disgusting thing. I remember using toilet paper rolls and like spray painting things brown, and it was not working.
That is so ironic.
To the point where I thought, okay, like I borderline almost like stopped with trying to do the portfolio and like, you know, like look into psychology. Like I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get in with this thing. It looks like they're asking for a lot, and I was like, maybe I should just get into psychology. But then time went by. I think I found myself having a bit more time, so I was like, let me try this thing again.
So you had a lot of time to actually.
Yeah, I started pretty, like my first iteration of it, I started pretty early before the deadline, which thank God, because I had a chance to like start over again. So I locked myself in my room and I was like, okay, let me read this brief. And I started getting cardboard, I started playing around. And then I came up with this interesting shape. Then there's a portion where we had to show how we built the artifact.
Yeah.
My shape, my form wasn't that complicated to explain, so I didn't find that part difficult.
When it comes to the journey?
When it comes to the journey, yes. So the last part, we had to draw a particular memory of a journey that you've gone on, or a broader encompassing journey in terms of like your life. And I approached it very simply. I put core memories that I had throughout life. And one of them was being fortunate enough to go to Ireland for a rugby tour. So I made it into a rugby team that was taken to Ireland to go play friendly matches. So yeah, I put that on there. I drew myself playing rugby, drew myself playing soccer, drew myself receiving the letter saying that I was accepted into the team to go to Ireland. So I think it was mostly centered around that memory, actually. Yeah.
Then, in an alternate universe where you didn't get accepted, did you have a plan B?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I probably would have done marketing. I like just the volatility and the unpredictability of industry and entrepreneurship. So I would have definitely loved, I love architecture, but I would definitely have liked perhaps to try that out if architecture didn't work out. I used to play soccer as well for Tuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, so maybe I would have tried to carry on that. Tried to take it more seriously.
Yeah, I had a plan B. So I had applied for architecture and digital art. So if I didn't do architecture, I was going to do digital art. But I also had a third option, which was civil engineering, simply because my dad wanted me to do civil engineering. So those are like my three options.
In terms of what I wanted, if I didn't get into architecture, the next best thing for me would have been psychology. But in terms of like advice from like my dad and stuff, he told me to apply for civil engineering as well. So he made that link between architecture and civil engineering. But in retrospect, the worlds are very different, and thank God that I got into architecture and I did not have to touch civil engineering.
Okay. Then, do you remember the moment that you got accepted? How did you receive?
Oh yeah, there was an email, like a little WhatsApp. Was it an iMessage or it was a message? And I was like, oh, okay, would like to inform you. And I literally ran to my dad and I was like, ah! And we started dancing. Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember it quite vividly, but I know because I got declined from my other one. This one I had like it meant more, so I was quite gassed.
I was at home, just nervous or anxious. Like I'm not getting a response from like my dream university. So I was a little like, okay, what am I gonna do now? And then in the evening, I think, I don't know, perhaps 4 p.m., 5 p.m. That's when I saw the message, and then I let my mom know, my sister know, and then I called my aunt, so she was very supportive as well of my journey. So yeah.
You seem like you weren't happy.
No, I was happy, but I'm usually level-headed in most scenarios. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was at home. It was literally the day the exams came out, at the exam results. So I couldn't sleep the whole night.
You stressed about
I was stressed. I was like stressed, bro. Yo, I couldn't sleep. I was awake. I was laying on my bed, and then I was checking my SMS. I think it was about 7 a.m. And then I saw congratulations, you've been accepted to the ASD. And I was so ecstatic. I didn't know what to do. Yeah, but it was it's a very memorable day for me. Yeah, I was very happy.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that day. First of all, because of Wits, I applied at other places for architecture, and it only did portfolios for 2.
Yeah.
So I was kind of running at the very thin. I won't lie, like I was running my luck very thinly. But the day I got accepted, I know it was during the day. The sun was shining, the sun was out. I think it was early that year that the studies were gonna start. And I remember, like, I didn't get waitlisted. Like, I saw that I got accepted straight through, and I was like reading that email. I remember I took a screenshot of it and I posted it on my status and I shared it with people in the house. And I was so happy, so excited just to get accepted first into an institution like this. Was dope. And I remember like working my ass off in the tree to get my marks, to be, good. So seeing that, I was like,
yeah. Then the last question is, what advice would you give to someone about your architecture journey in general, like looking back at it, like what have you learned?
I have learned that, first of all, this is a passion. You can't just do this with the thought of financial gain or to be one of the best architects in the world. You can't come in with a narrow mindset. Don't expect anything. I don't know, like what my expectations were is not what I'm seeing right now. I mean, as I say to myself, there will always be someone smarter than you, someone who their talents are stronger than yours. Don't take yourself too seriously all the time. Enjoy yourself to take in the creative process, because this is a creative degree. Allow yourself to feel and be in the moment, and don't stretch yourself if you feel as if you're not going to complete your tasks. I think the person that we were in first year and the people that we are now are very different people, because you thought you'd come in and you're like, oh, I know art, oh, I know maths, like I can definitely do this. Now it's like, oh,
humbling experience.
Like it's a very humbling experience, and just allow it. Don't humble yourself a lot. I would say humble yourself a lot and just learn. Allow yourself to read and take in other people's experiences.
So yeah, I would say have a genuine interest, which is extremely important. Keep that interest alive, keep that passion alive, and yeah, don't try to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of architects that you can learn from. You can learn from your lecturers. You can ask them a lot of questions. Be on them. They're there to help you, and you won't be Zaha Hadid with your angles overnight. So try understand fundamentals, and make sure that you also express yourself, do your work, and have fun.
So the advice I would give someone is you have to apply early. Like it's mandatory for you to apply early because architecture applications close earlier than other applications. And also give yourself enough time to do the portfolio because it takes a while to do the portfolio. And another thing is when you finally get accepted to architecture school, I'll tell people to manage their time properly because it's a very rigorous degree. It's very time consuming. Like you have to manage your time properly and also just have fun, you know, like don't just also socialize with people around you. Don't keep to yourself because it's at the end of the day, it's a social degree. You're gonna work with these people, you're not gonna be alone. So yeah, but the number one advice I would give to people is manage your time. For the interview, just be yourself. Firstly, you have to prepare for the interview. That's something that I cannot stress enough. You have to prepare for the interview, but at the end of the day, just be yourself, be calm, don't think about it too much, you know, and be open. Just be open.
Yeah, geez, I could go on for hours to answer this question, but I think the first thing that I'd have to relate to other people is to fully, and when I say fully, I mean fully embrace this degree. Allow this degree to change you. I think you should come out this degree a different person to who you were when you entered it. Because I think this degree is that powerful. So embrace the degree, let it change you, especially at Wits, architecture at Wits specifically, not just anywhere. It has a particular direction to it. They have a particular direction to how they teach us here. And I think it affects us as people very deeply, and I think you should allow it to do that. But on a less philosophical note, obviously time management, that's easier said than done.
Yeah, much easier said than done.
And I don't want to say late nights and all nighters are inevitable, because if you plan your time well, you don't have to be doing all nighters, to be honest.
But sometimes you plan and it takes you 4 times longer than you thought. Yeah.
So try your best to manage your time. And architecture it's a very competitive degree. So one tends to compare themselves to other students, and for me, that's one of the things that has made it a bit disheartening at times, comparing my own work to other students. And there's a time for that, but try to ground yourself. Accept that the level of work that you're producing, if there's a discrepancy between your peers, but stay in your lane and try to improve for your own sake.
Okay, that's all. As you've already seen, there are multiple ways that you can approach the interviews. It really depends on your personality. If you're the sort of person who likes to have it scripted, then that's okay. If you're the sort of person who just enjoys talking, then that's okay. The interviews are probably going to be just a conversation. I remember with myself, I don't think my Wi-Fi was working properly. It was supposed to be on Teams. So I just ended up having a phone call with the person. And we just spoke about architecture, and I think as soon as I started asking questions about the course and how everything happens on a daily basis, that's when it became a good conversation. So honestly speaking, there's no way which you're going to cheat yourself around this whole situation. I think the people behind the screen, the ones who are going to be giving you the interview, have this sort of intuition where they can tell if you'll be prepared for it or not. It's not about sounding like you're some sort of professional know-it-all person who's known about architecture their whole life. It's really about being genuine and making use of what you had. And if you don't feel confident in yourself, you need to realize that there's no way you would have made it to this point if there wasn't potential in you. So try to be authentic, try to be genuine. Honesty works. I think you need to show that you care about wanting to be there, wanting to make it into Wits. So I hope this video is helpful. Please click on this video for more information.